Blog Talk Radio.
It's time to go live on Spaced Out Weekend. Back in the haunted cabin of Spaced Out Studios is your host, James Tyson. You can tweet James at James Tyson SOR, Facebook him at Spaced Out Radio Show, or call in live at 1-607-203-5344. Now back in his crickety captain's chair, here's Spaced Out Weekend host, James Tyson.
Thank you, Dave, and welcome back to Spaced Out Weekend. It is I, James Tyson, and I am broadcasting from that little old cabin on the 13th floor of the Spaced Out Radio Network here on the paranormal portals of the lower left Canadian coast. And tonight with us, I have Kathryn Samuelson, who began to feel the call to explore the spiritual and then the metaphysical quite some time ago. She practiced law in Illinois, but felt called to move to Massachusetts along with the call to explore this other side of life. She decided to follow this path of spiritual seeking and work, including working as intuitive and a certified life coach when she was settled in Massachusetts. She is now living in Vermont and continuing to pursue the work that she loves so much. During her time in Massachusetts, she was led to create, along with the angels and guides, the book called Opening the Heart, Meditations on How to Be. As an intuitive, she gives angel readings using automatic writing, which is also called spiritual writing by some, a practice she has engaged in since 1993. She connects with her collective angels and guides during a reading, and they use the writing as a method for giving her the information and guidance that they wish to provide you, the client. She conducts the readings in a non-judgmental way, all in a safe and loving environment. She was certified by the University of New Hampshire as a life coach in 2007, and she has been offering her service as a life coach since then. She is open to helping all clients whom she can be of service. However, she is deeply interested in helping those undergoing transitions, changes, and transformations, and strongly believes that all of the transitions, changes, and transformations that she has undergone provide her with a deep base of empathy and knowledge from with to help her clients. She brings empathy and insight into her practice using the particular techniques that most benefit her clients. She also brings in the analytical skills that she honed while practicing as an attorney. The combination of her skills and training allow her to ask the questions that need to be asked and provide support and guidance to her clients. If you are listening to this right now, I'd ask you to go to her website. That's www.kathrynsamuelson.com. Again, Kathryn, it's Kathryn, Samuelson.com. Hello, Kathryn. How are you?
Hello, James. I'm great. How are you?
I am tickety-boo, as my grandmother would say, and I still have no idea what that means.
So, wasn't that from Mary Poppins or something?
Yeah, probably, because I think that's about the generation my grandmother was. It was a Mary Poppins kind of. She was from. She's a Saxon from northeast England, and showed up over on this continent back in around 1912 or 1911ish. That's where my family came. Actually, I had a DNA check. 30,000 years ago, my DNA showed up first in Egypt.
Huh.
I have no idea.
Well, I am clearly Swedish, English, and German in this lifetime, in my generation. Although on my father's side of the family, you can trace it back to Malcolm III of Scotland, King Brian of Ireland, and Charlemagne.
You know, he really got around.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, Charlemagne.
Well, if you all think about it, they all had 10 kids who all had 10 kids who all had, so even if all of the 10 kids didn't survive, by everybody having 10 and 13 children, it's like, well, we all really are related.
Oh, yeah, we are. That and Genghis Khan, I think, half of, good part of Russia and China have some Genghis Khan blood in them, and the Europeans, a lot of Charlemagne. I think my blood goes back to a guy named Dave. We don't know exactly where Dave is.
Well, they've done research now, and they've been able to get the Neanderthal genome done. And those of us who are European or anybody sort of north of Africa, many of us have 1 to 5% Neanderthal DNA.
Oh.
So we didn't kill off, modern humans didn't kill off the Neanderthals. I think we just interbred them out of existence.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think one of them was my gym teacher in the 8th grade. He's a brute of a guy. Now, I see, I'm just checking out some interesting events you have coming up, and the one that I'm interested in is Channeled Angel Readings. That's Saturday, February 13th in Vermont. And do you do a lot of public events?
It comes and goes. It depends on if people are doing them. And, that is actually at the Vermont Herbal General Store. So if you ever, those of you who are not in Vermont, if you ever get to Vermont, it's in West Rutland. Sylvie is wonderful. She has great herbal products. And she has me or other psychics there. Another great place I go to is the Pyramid Holistic Wellness Center in Rutland. And that's coming up. I may be there the 27th. I have to work that out with the owner.
Very cool. Hey, so I'm interested. And when I was going through your bio, it said that you were an attorney and you practice law in Illinois. I was wondering, how the heck, young lady, did you get from a practicing attorney to, mind you, I get these questions all the time. You were a policeman in the Mounties, and now you're doing oracle cards. And I said, yeah, well, it's a long story. So I want to hear your long story. Were you, let's go back a little ways, probably about 20 years to when you were like 3 years old.
Yeah, it'd have to be longer than that.
Okay. Were you a sensitive child?
I was always deeply interested in the spiritual, I believe, and I grew up Methodist. My grandfather was a Methodist minister. An uncle was a Methodist, great uncle was a Methodist minister. And I'm not sure if it was Christmas Eve, 1962 or 1963, but I remember we were going to Christmas Eve service, walking across the parking lot to go into the church, and I looked up in the sky and saw a praying figure, and realized years later that was one of my angels. So I think that might have been like, just keep this in mind. And then in the early 90s, I started exploring the psychic, not doing it, but having readings, and I picked up a book called Ask Your Angels, which may or may not still be in publication. And this was before the days of the universe of Doreen Virtue cards, and it had a set of cards that you could make yourself. And I did, and on a number of occasions, one of the cards was something about automatic writing. And at about that time, I had a reading with a channeled being by the name of O'Brien, and he suddenly said, "You should try automatic writing." And that was the start of it all, because I tried it, and it's like, okay. It was fits and starts, and I would get words, not sentences, and, just keeping at it, I would start to get sentences and paragraphs. We still don't do punctuation now.
No. They're so advanced, they're beyond punctuation.
Punctuation, right. And sometimes I have to go, slow down, use your words. Because it just comes through so fast I can't translate it. It's like, okay, slow down, use your words. Let's start to give me feelings. I'm like, and how am I supposed to describe this to a client?
When you say it came from a channeled being, can you describe that event? Like when you say, were you actively channeling?
No, I wasn't channeling. No, I was consulting another psychic by the name of Mike Traub, who channels a being by the name of O'Brien.
Okay.
And it was through having a reading myself that happened.
Oh, that's interesting. And how did you take that at the time when during a reading, someone saying, "Oh, by the way, you should I've got information that maybe you should try automatic writing"? Was that something that you had even heard of back then?
Well, I'd already had the experience with the cards coming up saying about something, and I can't tell you what the self-made card said, because they said in the book, you can make these cards and they each, what each one should say. I went out and got index cards. That's how low-tech this was. And hand wrote on them, the different things that the book said. And it was something about using automatic writing. So I was already been introduced to the concept and hadn't done anything with it until O'Brien said, you should try automatic writing. I was like, okie dokie.
No, that worked out really well. You'll have to excuse it. In the log cabin up here, we have a wolf chasing some deer down the hall here. So in the background, if you're hearing that, it's Kirby the wolf. We have some interesting things going on up here in our log cabin. Now, when you started your non-punctuated automatic writing. We'll just stick with that. Now, when you first started using this, how did it come to be? Like you were saying, it just got one word at a time, and then eventually you would get, a sentence. How long was that transition between the one word and the sentence? And when you were just getting the one word, could you use that information at the time?
It was usually more a couple words and then a couple more words, and I would ask more questions. I really didn't keep track of how long it took. This is a 93-ish. It took a long time, though, for me to feel comfortable to, quote, come out and start doing it for other people. And going to a psychic development group after I got to Massachusetts. It might have been a matter of months. I don't know. And I think it's different for everybody because the whole time, for a long time, I was going, why me? Why me? Why not? And I finally got to why not me? And I would regularly, early on, say, were any of these my answers? And sometimes the answer would be yes. And a lot of times it'd be no, it was us. So I think it's, from my own experience, useful for people who are doing psychic development to step back and say, was this me? Because I'm sure when you're doing this work, if you don't step out of your own way, so to speak, you can influence the answers.
And that's been my challenge, too, at the front end of this whole being told that I could do it and then starting to do it and not understanding if I'm actually getting the messages or not, or am I thinking the answers? And that confidence in doing that. And I'm still a little bit iffy on it.
And that's why I think I really like the automatic writing. One, because as you can tell, I'm rather verbal, and I was in a verbal profession. I mean, you write, you talk as a lawyer. But also I can tell because when they take over and start to move my hand, it's a different energy. So but I still at times will say, was this you guys? Or, in the middle of a reading, I'll say to the client, I just have to step back here and make sure this isn't me, and I think they appreciate that. Oh, yeah.
I think that's it's a clarification and a good way to move on, because I know I have a show every second Sunday called Two Mediums and a Large. And no, it's not pizza. It's but I have two mediums come on, and it's their feedback they get from whoever's calling in is really important to them. Like, does this resonate with you, or does this mean anything to you? So because they always have to understand that, are they reading into it a little too much, or one of them is just bang on. Just sometimes she doesn't even know what she's saying. She'll just say a bunch of things, and she'll say, what did I just say? I'm not sure.
I'm much more aware of what I'm saying, but it's like, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah. And that must have, and you continue to have that kind of, gut check on making sure that, okay, this is okay, good. I feel much better now.
and sometimes it'll come through as a question, and I'm like, I had a reading with a client, and it was at a store, and I said, do you do woodworking? Because they just said the word woodworking. He goes, how did you know that? I'm thinking, you're talking to a psychic. And he did woodworking. Say that word like 5 times fast. Woodworking and making toys and giving. It's like, okay, so it's when something like that happens. But I also find that I'm too close to myself, so I will have readings with other psychics.
Yeah.
For validation.
For validation. Okay.
Particularly like if I'm changing the vitamin and minerals that I'm doing or something like that, I will, somebody I trust like this O'Brien, or I've got a really great friend, Barbara, who's a psychic and a medical intuitive, and it's like, should I take this? Okay, and what dosage? You're going to have to just be very careful because, you could read and take 35 things and... and do you really need all those 35 things? Because it all sounds interesting. Now, leading into the book you wrote, that was, could you almost say that was a channeled book? Is that a lot of it? I would tinker with it some, and some people would make suggestions, and I'd go to them and say, what do you think? And they'd say sure or no. It was channeled which plants to use. I have to give a lot of props to my book designer and my photographer.
Okay.
Because I could not have designed that book, and I think the photos are stunning, and I get to say that because I didn't take them.
Now, and if you go to Kathryn Samuelson's webpage at KathrynSamuelson.com, you'll see a link to her book, Open Your Heart to Blossom in the World.
No, that's my tagline.
That's your tagline. Opening the Heart, Meditations on How to Be. And it's got 56 different meditation images, corresponding text. It's and exercises. Oh no, it's a textbook. Excellent.
You don't you don't have to do it.
No.
It's really designed to do it the way you want to do it, but some of the exercises, in case you want to use something besides just meditating, generally.
Well, that's good.
It's homework.
It is homework, but it's good. And again, we've got now raccoons going past the front of the cabin here, and Kirby the wolf is going insane. So we'll let him do that, and before I let him out, because he's supposed to be producing the show now that our Bigfoot is no longer doing it. So he's still.
Oh, you mean the Bigfoot left?
Yeah, Kevin, he was supposed to have gone to was it Aruba or someplace on vacation, and we haven't seen him since. So when he gets back from Aruba, I'm sure he'll have a lot to talk to us about. Unfortunately,
wouldn't Aruba be kind of hot for a Yeti?
Yeah, it is, but I'm pretty sure he'll wear a hat. So it'll it's a lot cooler when you wear the hat, right? It keeps the sun out of your eyes, and he wouldn't get a lot of sunscreen. Yeah. Okay, you and your book, young lady. When did you write this?
It was published in 2013, but it was a real saga. When I was living in Melrose, Massachusetts, I had a massage therapist who was quite psychic herself, and we would talk about what we both received during the massage session. And one time I came out, and she looked at me, she said, I think you're supposed to create a set of angel cards. And I was like, oh, holy crap, another thing to do. Okay, universe, I'm going to need an artist. And this was in 2007. That was in May. Was it 3 months later, August, if that's 3 months? I re-met my book designer, Linda Lewis, who I'd met in 2002 on a trip to Ireland and had not seen her for 5 years.
So things are starting to fall in place now.
Right, and it took quite a while. It was basically about 6.5 years to do, because we designed it as cards, went to every publishing house we could think of that would do cards. Red Wheel Weiser came back and said, oh, we don't publish cards anymore. And I'm thinking, drumming my fingers on my desk, going, and why didn't you put that on your website? your submission guidelines. Went to agents. Some agents loved it, but one said didn't think they had enough big enough platform. Well, I found out that means fan base.
Yeah.
Another one's like, I really like it, but I don't know how to sell it. So Ben went to Linda and said, should we redesign it so everything is, in one book? The images, the exercises I was coming up with, so I was going to have a separate workbook. So then, at that point, just decided to go self-publishing. So that's sort of the arc of, it doesn't necessarily always take that long to bring a book out. It just, if you're transforming it.
Yeah, it's amazing. The timeline that you did, the route that you did take, but I'm pretty confident that at the end of the day, what you have in the product is exactly what you wanted. There was no other people's fingers getting in there and suggesting things, and which, frankly, I have a better understanding, and I enjoy those kind of books better. And I also enjoy nonfiction books way better than fiction. So your book, which is lovely, Opening the Heart, and again, Meditations on How to Be, is something that I would definitely want to look at, because I'm at the front end of where I'm going with my, we'll call it spirituality or intuitiveness. And this is the type of book that I need to kind of go through. And again, you can get these via your website, and links like Barnes & Noble online, Amazon, Dog Ear Press, and a bunch of bookstores actually in Vermont. So that's not too bad.
Vermont and Massachusetts.
There you go.
And there's also a Kindle, a Nook, and an iBook version.
Oh, look at you. Look at you all in the 22nd century kind of whole this whole
well,
computer
if you're going to do it, and we talked about it, Linda and I mean, she's an artist, a graphic artist, she's done marketing, and if you're going to do it, why not? I think the images would be great on an iPad.
Oh yeah, I think they would too. It's like any type of imaging. Any fractal imaging or anything like that is that you can carry around on an iPad is absolutely great. And I'm going to get Kirby the Wolf an iPad here, and hopefully it'll focus him more on.
Is he chasing the moose right now?
No, Moose doesn't get here till a bit later.
Okay.
He's gone from deer to raccoon, and as long as we keep him away from the porcupine and the skunk, we're good.
And the squirrels are probably too quick for him.
Yeah, he that irritates the heck out of him, but he's pretty good that way. He'll bark at them and just go, dang it, they're fast. And they just sit up in a tree and chatter at them. But, it's that whole lower left Canadian coast of up here in the Pacific Northwest, or Cascadia. Have you ever been up here?
No, I have not.
Well, come on over.
I have been to Quebec.
Oh,
and Montreal.
Montreal, the old Quebec City is kind of cool. That's if you want a nice haunted visit to a battlefield, or you have those in Vermont anyway. My time in Vermont, I saw there was a lake, I think, between Quebec.
Lake Champlain.
And there was this little tiny castle on a little tiny rock, and not a castle, but looked like a parapet sticking out of the lake. It was very, very cool.
It wasn't. You're not talking about Lake Champlain, which is between Vermont and New York, and probably Quebec.
Could have been. I don't know. It was on the left side when we were going down. So, a bunch of young Mounties being forced to speak French. Come on, and then we escaped to Vermont.
Vermont's a happening place. Let me tell you, it is a happening place.
You could buy switchblades legally there, and we thought that's kind of weird. So,
it's a land of hunters and farmers, but then we have baristas, and twice since I've moved here, Richard Thompson has been what we call the Upper Valley. For those who aren't from here, it's the Upper Connecticut River Valley, which runs from the Canadian border down into old Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Yes. We sort of ignore that can't see. Dartmouth College is just across the river from where I live, and all sorts of things. And Richard Thompson has been the guitarist.
Yep. He's
been in this area twice since I moved here. Melissa Etheridge was in the area. Renee Fleming has gone, and Hugh Masekela and Dr. John and the Night Trippers. All these kinds of people come to the Upper Valley. So, we got farmers and sheep and cows, and then opera singers.
Hunters and farmers, but don't hunt the farmers. They really, really frown on that. They really do. We've been talking to Kathryn Samuelson. Please go to our website, KathrynSamuelson.com, and we're going to be back with more from Kathryn and discussing a little more on her history and her intuitiveness right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Weekend with my dad, James Tyson.
Want to find out what's coming up on the Spaced Out Radio Network? Go to spacedoutradio.com, where you can find our daily list of shows and guests appearing throughout the week. Want to tell us your story? Be sure to sign up for the Spaced Out Forum for free. Maybe you have a psychic question. Drop in and say hi to Kathryn in Cat's Corner. spacedoutradio.com, your 24-hour source for UFOs, ghosts, conspiracies, and more. Check it out today.
Is the 24-hour world starting to wear you down? Let me from Rivulet Reiki and Readings lend you a hand. Hi, this is Jolene, and if you're in need of Reiki or a realm reading, come to my website, rivuletrr.wix.com/rivuletrr&r, and let us help you out. At Rivulet, I specialize in healing your body, mind, and soul, no matter where you are. And be sure to check out the Rivulet R&R Facebook page for your best deals. Remember, it's time for you to make some time for you.
Are you one of many who's had a UFO or ET experience? Listen up. The AZ UFO show is on every Sunday night at 7 on the Spaced Out Radio Network. We talk about UFO sightings across the globe, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, and more with me, Rich Giordano. I want you to know what's going on in the skies above you, so tune in to the AZ UFO show on Spaced Out Radio Network on spacedoutradio.com right before Spaced Out Weekend. Our show is literally out of this world.
The sky is the limit on Spaced Out Radio. Hi there, this is Dave Scott, host of Spaced Out Radio. Join me live every Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern for news, reviews, and updates on what's happening in the realms of UFOs, paranormal, supernatural, conspiracy, and more. Find it all at spacedoutradio.com, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Spaced Out Radio. Listen in soon.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Spaced Out Weekend broadcasts on the Spaced Out Radio Network. You can follow James and other shows at spacedoutradio.com. And don't forget to join our free forum. Now here's the paranormal guru, weekend host, James Tyson.
Welcome back to a Spaced Out Weekend, and I am still talking with Kathryn Samuelson. And I'm going to say I'm still talking to her because she hasn't hung up on me yet, and we're doing well up here. I don't know why I said that, but I think I haven't been hung up almost 3 weeks now. No one's hung up on me here. When you were a kid and you saw your angel,
Yep.
Now, would that something that later on in life, as we kind of discussed briefly there, that you found was a guardian angel, or was this a guide, what you would describe as a spirit guide?
Well, I tend to call angels companions rather than guardians because they companion us. They try to, nudge us. They try to, get us to not do stupid things. But it varies what they do. I say angels and guides because, in my view, in the metaphysical world, there are lots of tribes of beings. Just as my metaphor is, there's lots of tribes of people. So there's angels. There's spirit guides. Elves, dragons, fairies, power animals or animal guides, animal totems. I know someone who has seen gnomes. So I just collectively say angels and guides. And angels because people, in many cultures understand angels, the winged beings, the messengers of God, and the hangers out with.
Yeah, the hangers out.
With.
Yeah.
Sorry about the funky grammar. And one of my other experiences was, it was the morning of my uncle-in-law's funeral. And right before I woke up, I had this very vivid dream. I dreamed that I was laying in bed, like I was laying in bed. And I could see in my dream the room that my sister and I were sharing at the hotel. And suddenly I was very cold, and then there was my uncle laying next to me, and I'm going, abada, 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 how are you? And he said, dead, which was my Uncle Eber's humor.
Yeah.
And I was about to say, do you want me, in my dream I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to ask him, does he want me to tell Aunt Doris anything? And suddenly there's a bright, white, blinding light at the end of the bed. And I say, what's that? He said, my guiding angel. Dream was over.
And he said it was your guiding angel.
No, his guiding angel. Guiding angel. So it was his way of saying, I'm fine, and I'm being guided,
Or,
so that was
or it was his way of saying, I'm fine. Oh, crap, I got to go. They caught me. She found me. Dang it. I got to wait for 10 minutes to see you, and all of a sudden she shows up and says, got to go. Yeah, that's interesting. That and you actually saw. What did you see in this bright light?
I didn't see anything. It was just this bright, shining light.
Okay.
But what was interesting is, so after the funeral, we're back at my aunt and uncle's house, for the after, gathering, whatever you want to call it. And I'm sitting there with my mom, and a couple nuns from the hospice were there as well, sitting close to us. I said, wow. And my mother was a kind of conservative Methodist, right? It's not like the Catholic Church where you talk about saints and angels and, there's a little bit of saint stuff. Her father was a Methodist minister. And I said, Mom, I had this dream. And I described it to her. I said, do you think I should tell Aunt Doris? And she was like, oh, yes. The nuns who, pray to saints and all that stuff. We'll go, oh, no, dear. It's like, really? This is really interesting. The Methodists say sure, but the nuns say, oh, no.
Oh, no, yes. Oh, don't get me started on nuns, young lady. It's very, very interesting. It's changing a lot now since you were younger and dealing with stuff like that.
Oh, much younger.
Yeah. But the one side of the Catholic Church still thinks every spirit that a human sees is a demon. And they're out there, everybody with a haunted house, they want to go in there and exorcise the entire place. But it is a bit different. It is unfortunate, and you get into those conflicts. And don't even talk about extraterrestrial or anything like that. But strictly speaking, with spirit energy, hokey smudge. These people, I think I saw a spirit. No, you saw a demon. We now have to drag you out and exercise you. No, I've had my exercise this morning, and I don't want to come out with you.
And I've connected on Facebook through this other radio show host where I've been on his show, and she is now a priest in the old American Catholic Church or something, and I guess they use Latin. I'm not sure, but how can it be Catholic if you're a priest and you're a woman?
Yeah. There are the archbishops that are still floating around there who have never really been an archbishop, but they do exorcisms. So it's, did you do this because there's some money out there if you want to do exorcisms, I'm pretty sure, because somebody's going to throw money at you because they're afraid. And that's unfortunate, and that kind of goes back to the whole, we'll get into a whole religious doctrine and anything from if you don't believe in God, then you're going to burn in hell unless you donate X amount of money to the church, and it gets crazy.
Indulgences and la 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 la.
Yeah. Now you've gone back to your, like, we're going to kind of bounce back here again. You're dealing with who should you tell about these things you see? Where do you go from there?
Well, when I started doing the automatic writing, I just basically really kept it to myself. I certainly didn't tell my parents, and I certainly didn't tell my sisters for a long time, a really long time. And I remember I was living in Oak Park, Illinois at the time, and my sister, one sister who lived 4 blocks away, we went out to dinner, and I was just like, you know. And they finally spit it out, you know. And she's actually an atheist. She professes to be an atheist. So it's interesting that she's fine with what I do.
Well, you know, she's a good sister.
Right.
You do what you need to do. And
you know,
we'll talk about you when you're not here.
But I would, you know, I certainly didn't talk about it a lot at work, at the lovely county of Cook.
The great county of Cook.
Cook. A small little local government of 20,000 employees.
Oh, my.
But there was a few people. I worked at that time in the Department of Planning and Development in federally grant-funded work, and one of the planners, program people, was exploring, you know, African American, exploring African spirituality. And so I would tell her. I had a few people here and there that I told. But, you know, it's like, no, I'm not going to go and tell the boss. That would probably not be a good idea.
No, not a really good idea.
But I started doing it because it was very toxic work. I mean, when you get a bureaucracy that big, it's toxic.
No.
You know?
Really?
Yeah.
Government bureaucracy or any bureaucracy is toxic? Yes, it is. I totally understand. It's post-traumatic stress waiting to happen.
So I would do things like sprinkle sea salt in the corners of my office every once in a while. You know, I made a little sachet of sea salt and I think lavender and all sorts of stuff that I put on my desk, sort of like made it like kind of pretty, and, you know, put it to the side. You know, maybe had some rose quartz or so, you know. And every once in a while I'd re-sprinkle the salt because, of course, it got vacuumed. Actually vacuumed once in a while. You know, and then I got to the point, I had read a book called Book of Shadows by Phyllis Cura, I think her name is.
Okay.
And it was her memoir, and she is an attorney, and she is the high priestess of her Wiccan coven.
Oh.
And I learned something from reading this, because she was having difficulties with somebody in her office, so she was mentally drawing a pentagram in front of his door all the time. And people go, oh my God, pentagram's devil. No, energy is neutral. It's what you do with it that makes it negative or positive, in my view. And so she was furiously doing this, and this guy ended up having a heart attack. And I was like, okay, so we should always say, not in anger, not in bad intent. And I would just like mentally draw pentagrams by people's office doors, and, you know, like to deflect stuff away from myself, but always saying, not in anger, not in bad intent. You know, merely to deflect things up and away from me and not onto anyone else.
And did you find it worked?
Well, it certainly made me feel better. On that level, I think it did, you know?
Yeah. You know, and at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to protect our own energy and keep it in there. Now,
right, and learning to clear your energy and doing that regularly. And, you know, every once in a while, it's really interesting. There's this place called Green Hope Farm in Meriden, New Hampshire, and they do flower essences. And I discovered for some reason, in the description of the Irish collection, if you go down, at the end, there's a way to clear land, and she says that you can then also use it for buildings.
Okay.
And I've adapted it. And it's about clearing, cleaning, illuminating, rebalancing, clearing the various bodies of your property. So it's kind of, so the more you delve into the spiritual work, the more you should, I hate to use should, it would be good to think about clearing yourself, clearing your house, on a somewhat regular basis.
Now, and I hate starting my sentences with the word now, but if for some reason it's a habit, I'm going to try to break it today. But one of the things I wanted to ask you is, if you were going to clear your house out, take me through the steps of a good cleaning.
There's a number of things that you can do. You can take sea salt or salt water. And if you have a basement, you should really start in the basement. And you can sprinkle, the salt water or the sea salt, in the corner, all the corners, and work your way up, always with prayers and intent that you're having unneeded energies, negative energies leave. You can use singing bowls or gongs to do that, and it depends. Because doing the readings, sometimes somebody will be told one or the other. People will use sage and smudge. Again, it's all with prayer and intent. Personally, burning stuff can make me gag. I'm a little sensitive. Other people use white cedar smudging. This thing that I read on the Green Hope Farm site, which is greenhopeessences.com. They're wonderful people. They don't take credit cards. They send you a bill. They just expect to get paid. And if they send you the wrong thing, they tell you to keep it because you were meant to have it, and they don't charge you. But it's what I've changed it from land. It's like, okay, angels and guides, land divas, and any other. This is my adaptation, I should say. Angels and guides, land divas, and any other beings who would like to step forward and to help. Please cleanse, clear, clean, illuminate, and rebalance my home. Please clear the physical, etheric, mental, and emotional bodies of my home. Please send all negative energies through the Christed grid, which is not the same as Christ, and then not to be returned. And then I ask them to be transformed into something positive, healing, and beneficial. That's my addition. Then I ask, and I, for a long time, was using just Great Mother because I needed to sort of rebalance into the feminine. But now I'm like Mother, Father, co-creators. Please fill my home with your love, light, power, and healing. Thanks the Mother, Father, creators. Thank the angels and guides, the land divas. It's always good when you call on help to actually thank them.
Yeah.
Polite. So there's a number of ways you can clear your space. You can actually put out crystals sometimes with asking the crystals to absorb, the negative energies, but then you should remember to clear them.
Yeah.
You could either put them in sunlight. Some people do moonlight. Some people do put them in salt water, but you have to be careful because some crystals will just dissolve in salt water. I took a class from one by the name of Trisha Why Not, and she said you could hold a stone and either out loud or mentally say, this stone, you blow on it, is clear, you blow on it now, and you blow on it. So because you're working with energies, and it's intense. Intense,
yeah. So like Reiki. Yeah. Yeah, I found that in my Reiki course, as long as the intention was there, everything seemed to work. I didn't have to have my hand in exactly the right place or, move exactly to the right or the proper part of the body that I was working on. It just all was working, and it was just really came down to the intent I had. It was positive.
Right, or the psychic development group I went to at a place called Circles of Wisdom in Andover, Massachusetts. We would do, even though I really have not pursued it, doing some healing work on each other. And she would talk about being the hollow bone to let that energy come in, and I would find my hands just moving.
Oh.
Where they needed to be,
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, it is. You seem to be in an area where this is very well accepted. Like this, I want to call it a lifestyle almost. But have you found out in the last maybe 5 or 6 years that this is becoming more mainstream? And I don't know if it's, and I always, I shouldn't say blame, but I put it on a lot of this paranormal television shows where people are all of a sudden open to the idea of spirit energy, and from the idea of spirit energy, they've kind of morphed into the acceptance of an idea of the other spirit energies that are around us.
I don't know what the source is. I know that there was a lot of it when I moved to Massachusetts, and for those not in America, I'm not aware of the colonial history. I think it's just really damn interesting that Massachusetts has so many psychics and healers. Mm-hmm. Considering 1692. Do you know what happened in 1692?
Did you burn a lot of people back then?
No, they hung them and crushed one to death.
Oh, the whole
Salem witch trials. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh. And there's some thought that actually what happened was that there had been it actually happened in Salem Village, although the trials were in Salem. And Salem Village is now Danvers. They decided to change their name. But it was very wet summer growing season in Salem Village. And there's a lot of thought that I think there were a number of causes for this. I mean, you get people who are looking around every corner for the devil.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a repressed society, and you get exuberant teenage, hormones. And they think probably a lot of it was ergot poisoning.
Ergot? What's that?
Ergot is a hallucinogenic similar to LSD.
Oh, okay.
But, so the symptoms are just, when you look at it and you read the symptoms of ergot poisoning, it's the hallucinations, it's the body twisting and contortions and, all this stuff. And I think these teenage girls, they became a focus of attention, and it's like, okay.
All righty.
Then there were people accused, then I think there was some property grabbing, because I think Rebecca Nurse's family, if you had an accused witch, the property was taken, and her property, then they all got pardoned later, and the property never went back. The property never went back to the family, and maybe not her family, and I know Rebecca Nurse, they wouldn't say where they buried her.
Oh, that's just crazy talk.
Right. So that's why I think it's really quite interesting that Massachusetts is just this hotbed of, well, and look at Salem, Massachusetts now. It's called Witch City. The cop cars, the seal on the cop cars say Witch City.
And what's funny, I shouldn't say funny, it's sad, but a friend of mine who lives in a severely active home has been trying for years to get somebody in there to clean it out.
I've got a name for you.
What?
Remind me that.
Okay.
David Franklin Farkas.
Well, that's an easy one. I'm not going to forget David Franklin Farkas.
It's Farkas. He does property clearings.
Oh, perfect. I'll pass that on to Kathryn. She had paranormal groups show up and actually leave screaming. And then she was the first episode of an ex-New York cop who now has this paranormal group, and she thought, okay, maybe they're going to help me. Well, he got out there and said, oh, you've got a picture of a witch on the wall? So you're inviting this stuff in? And then realized later that he was very much a demonologist, or every energy is a demon, and therefore you're inviting them in because you have a picture of a witch on the wall. It's like, buddy.
Really?
Yeah. And
when I worked at a place in Salem, it was called the World of Witches Museum. They were Wiccan. They weren't,
No.
They do. Okay. It's like, okay, they light candles. Sounds like the Catholic Church. They burn incense. Catholic Church. They say prayer.
Yeah. Well, what was irritating as heck with me when I watched the episode, and he basically left there saying, it's all your fault. You wanted the publicity of a TV show, and went on and on and on. And the poor family standing there going, "Were you going to fix it?" "No, it's all your fault. I'm out of here, and congratulations on my new series." It was different. He was I almost said he was a dick, but I wasn't going to say it. But no, it came across as a real pompous, I know better than you, very, a New York cop, very loud and abrasive, and not happy with them. And the picture on the wall was a Halloween scene with a little witch in the distance. So he made a big deal of it on the show. And those are the types of people that are really... They're starting to come out more and more now. We had that whole raft of paranormal television shows where people were running around looking for ghosts. Then we had the raft of paranormal television shows where the guys would go out hunting for ghosts and tease them and prod them and yell at them. And then, please, if there's a ghost here, touch me. And when the ghost did something, they'd run screaming down the hall like a little kid in a puddle of their own urine. And then now we've got all these demonology shows where that seems to be the fad. It's I like the idea of having television showing that there are or could be, to people who don't know, active spirit out there. I just don't like what it's turning into is everybody either wants their own television show or wants, to be one of these people. And there's groups offering ghost hunting lessons for $200 and some, and it's just crazy. And I was a paranormal investigator up until October, and I'm quite happy now not doing that. It's I was only doing it to get some questions I had answered. Now, in your life as an intuitive, before I get into that, you were talking about property divas. What is a property diva?
I mean a land diva.
A land diva, sorry.
A diva. Divas are another metaphysical entity. There's just so many of them. It's hard to... There are elementals. There are land divas. They work with structures in the land. Plant divas literally work with, they're plant beings. I have a friend who has a tree spirit that hangs out with her. And the tree spirit's name is Georgia.
Is it a peach tree?
I don't think so. It's here in Vermont.
Just a second.
So it's just like, it's a metaphysical being. What can I say?
Yeah. Okay, good. That's when we come back after our next break, I want to talk to you about some of these metaphysical beings and things that you possibly can see. I've interviewed people that see things that literally say and tell me that if everybody could see these, no one would leave their house. There's so much stuff out there. And her divination, I guess we'll call it divination, is that she has the quote-unquote gift of being able to see things that the other, basically see all these things.
Interestingly, I don't see them except for the one occasion and then a couple of my guides in meditation. And I do wonder how it must be really crowded.
It must be. It really must be. I think that there's so much energy out there. We're probably lucky that we don't see what's out there.
I think it would be a little crazy making.
Yeah, a little bit overwhelming. We've been talking to, and we continue to talk to, Kathryn Samuelson, who is out in Vermont and out doing her thing, an intuitive, a writer, and all in all, a really nice lady. And
shucks, thanks.
Oh, shucks. Life coach, and she does channeled angel readings. She is a monthly contributor to Off the Cuff magazine, as well as an occasional contributor to Fountain International magazine. We're going to be right back with more from Kathryn right after this.
This is Dave Scott, host of Spaced Out Radio. We will get you back back to Uncle Jimbo, James Tyson, and Spaced Out Weekend in just a moment. But right now, I wanted to remind you that Spaced Out Radio broadcasts Monday through Friday at this exact same time, 10 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern, where we will be discussing the latest happenings from UFOs to Bigfoot. Join us, will you? Spaced Out Radio. Let us be a part of your journey.
Ready to find out what's flying up in the sky? Me too. Hi there, this is Rich Giordano. Please join me every Sunday night at 7 for the AZ UFO Show. It's a fast and compelling 2-hour show on UFOs, extraterrestrials, conspiracy theories, and much more. Every week we will have great guests and great topics to try and answer the ultimate question, are we alone in this universe or not? So tune in to the AZ UFO Show with me, Rich Giordano, right here on the Spaced Out Radio Network at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hi there, this is Jolene with Reveal Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr, or my Facebook page, Rivulet R&R, to set up an appointment for relaxation, Reiki, or readings, no matter where you are. Spaced Out Radio listeners will also receive 10% off their first visit. It's time for you to make time for you.
The Spaced Out Radio Network can be found at spacedoutradio.com. Hi there, this is Dave Scott. Here you can join the latest on our weekly shows and news from around the world involving UFOs, cover-ups, cryptids, ghosts, and more. Read articles from our very talented staff and check out our weekly tarot card reading from Psychic Kathryn. You can also sign up for free on our forum and tell us about your experiences. SpacedOutRadio.com. Always live, always interactive.
Do you have a guest or a topic you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Weekend with James Tyson? You can email us at james@spacedoutradio.com with your idea. And now back to our weekend paranormal warrior. Here's James Tyson.
Welcome back, everybody. We are with Kathryn Samuelson. Please go to our website, KathrynSamuelson.com. That's Kathryn.
And can we spell Kathryn again? Because it's a little unusual.
It is. You've got the RYN going. It's KATHRYN. That's KATHRYN Samuelson. And her book, if you want to bounce around and look at that, it is Opening the Heart, Meditations and How to Be... And then you go, is how to be. Now, you say it consists of 56 distinctive meditation images. Now, these are just images that when you open the book up, you can, obviously they're just meditation images. You stare at them, you focus on them, and off you go.
And interestingly, they are paired. So there's 28 pairs of, as my book designer and I say, seeming dualities. Because, often we're humans, it's like either or. It's either or. Sometimes it's both. A lot of times it's both. So you can meditate on both of the meditation images, or you could put a piece of paper. Or if you've got, like, the electronic iPad, you could just do one. But if you've got the paper version, you could put a piece of paper over one of them and just look at one. And it's designed so you could flip it open and, you close your eyes, open it up and say, right page, and that would be the one you'd work on. Or you could choose a number and meditate on that one. Actually, the exercise is in the back of the book. My favorite one is actually the 3 questions, and the reason I think it's my favorite one is because I got it from a horse.
Oh, and what was the question? And how the dickens did you get it from a horse?
I'm a life coach, but at the time I was working with a life coach, and she at the time was doing her life coaching with her horse, Thunder. Thunder can do Reiki on you. Thunder can communicate. And we were working with Thunder, and suddenly it was like, who are you, what are you, where are you? You know, and it was clear it was such a just like very brief answers. So that is at the end of the exercises. You know, it's a check-in, and I probably should do that. I haven't done it for a while. To check in as you progress through the book, you progress in meditation, and so it's not meant to to have like paragraphs. I was doing a workshop, and I finally had to stop. You know, because people, he's like, no, these exercises aren't meant for you to. You can go back and do more later, but you know that one it's like immediate. What's the first thing that pops into your head? Who are you? And what are you?
Yeah.
Where are you? And literally, those questions popped into my head when I was working with Thunder the horse.
Well, that's interesting then. So and I'm actually interested in any horse that can do Reiki on you. So that is fascinating.
Right, really quite an interesting horse, and I think more horses can do things like that than people think. You know, because they're very calming, they're very gentle, they're huge, and you know they could do great damage but they can also be very gentle and healing. Think about the horse therapy places where kids with autism or people with disabilities go, and you know they learn to ride the horses and be as one and.
Oh, they're very intuitive. Like I've been thrown from a horse, and I knew. It's funny. I knew I was going to get thrown from him before I even hopped on him. I thought there's something not right here, and then I was gone. And it wasn't just a regular throw off. He tried to brush me off as he ran and ducked under a tree. And of course, the owner of the horse laughed, and I thought that was funny too. But that's not good. That's not good because then the horse thinks, "Oh, this is funny. I should do this again." Yeah, that's what I tried to explain to my friend's dad, who was laughing. But the horse itself would follow you around, and actually, as you were doing things, I found it was watching, and it was almost like it was learning what you were doing. And they're very, very fascinating. And I honestly haven't been around horses a lot, but for 2 years I lived on a little hobby farm, and my friends had horses, and I found them just to be very, very, and I want to say calming. If you're out walking around with them, you knew where they were. They followed you around, and you know they weren't like bumping into you. Or one of my roommates, one would walk up to him and like flick him with his nose and just about knock him over, and so they had different reactions to different people. And Thunder would be an interesting Reiki horse. That would be interesting. Now, in your book, you have all these photographs. They're all flowers, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, and with a quick little saying, and then we move on from there. Where did you come up with that idea? Or was that idea something that was kind of provided to you from something else?
Again, it was all, I credit the angels and guides. You know, okay, you want me to do, quote, the angel cards, and it sort of became meditation cards instead, and I'm not even sure I can explain to you at this point how I knew I was supposed to have plants in the background. I'm slowly working on a similar book, but new sets of plants. I'm also working on a book of poems based on this book. Whether they'll ever see the light of day, who knows? But I'm working on them.
Yeah, it's something that, a lot of times we're given tasks and we don't know what the end result of these tasks are until much later. Now, there's me saying now again. In the second quarter, we talked about the different entities that are out there, and that you've only really seen your guides a couple of times, and this angel or the angel light that came towards you. When you discuss this with peers who actually can see, what are the types of things that you've learned that are around you?
I actually don't discuss it much with other psychics. it's reading. It's if I get together with a psychic, it's usually a friend, and we talk about friend stuff. And,
yeah. Okay, so if it's just from stuff you read, well, heck.
No, but I mean, for example, there's a woman, she's great, Carrie Milton. She's known as the Stone Lady. She's in Gloucester, Mass. She does a different kind of reading. She actually uses crystals and stones. She's the woman who would see gnomes. And I'm like, okay, you see gnomes. In some of it's through doing readings and helping people find out who their angels and guides are. It's like, okay, you have 3 fairies, you have 4 fairies, you've got 6 dragons. Oh, you've got 3 elves with you, and it's through some of that. It's just like it's the information that comes through too. When reading about its Grebe Farm, the woman who owns it, she works with the plant divas and the angels in the fall to what she's supposed to plant in her gardens the next spring, and so it's kind of sources that I trust.
Yeah, and it comes down to sources. Yeah, you've got to trust the deliverer of that information, and then. That's what I found fascinating with people that I've bumped into who I do trust. I've known them in their real lives as either police or whatever they were doing, and I have some faith into what they're saying is, they're not going to make it up, because if they are, that's going to make them look really stupid if they say it out loud. One of my friends, John D'Souza, is ex-FBI, who's written a book on all the paranormal encounters he's had, and a number of other people he was in law enforcement with, the stuff that they couldn't say while they were actually still on the job, or else they'd be ridiculed and wouldn't be asked out for coffee much anymore, because you'd be the crazy guy who sees either UFOs or a ghost tapped him on the shoulder. But they're very, when somebody's got something to lose by telling you something like that, you've better take it as being pretty serious, because first of all, they're going to kind of protect your cards are going to be pretty close to their chest over something like that, and if they're going to disclose it to you because they trust you, that's one of the things that I'm that's on my checklist of, okay, that's verifiable, that's real.
Or someone who's writing a memoir, of how they became a psychic or a tarot reader or whatever, and they put it out there. And there's people in the field, God, I can't remember his name, but he's been to South Africa and all sorts of places working with shamans. And so you just sort of, sometimes a book just resonates. Like, I need to read this book. And I have to confess, I just looked it up. It's about horses. It's called The Horse Boy, a memoir of healing by Rupert Isaacson. And his son is autistic. And he noticed that he was better on horses. The neighbor had a horse, and they would go horseback riding. And he persuaded his wife that they should go to Mongolia, and there's a documentary on this that National Geographic or somebody went. So he got funding, and he wrote this book. So he must have gotten in advance, and they went to all bunches of shamans in Mongolia. And riding horses, and ending up with a shaman from the deer people in somewhere in far outer Mongolia, where they had to ride for days. They couldn't even take, they couldn't take the jeeps anymore. They had to ride horses, and the kid came back better from the trip.
That's amazing.
And it's not. The father is clear. He says he's not cured, but his really extreme behaviors were much better.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I wonder exactly what is out there. For us as people to open ourselves up to be healed. In situations like that, it's getting that direction from something that sends you on a quest for healing, and then you break it down to how many people aren't getting that direction. how many millions of people out there don't either are getting it and not knowing it, aren't actually seeing the connection or not putting two and two together. And a lot of times, like you and I know this, when we get information from the other side, it's not putting two and two together. It's like putting two and apple together. And you're going, what? I have no idea what this means, but if one's an image and one's something else, and I'm trying to figure it out. But when are we, and I know in my experience, a lot of people are becoming more sensitive or have been becoming more sensitive. I wonder if as that continues, we are going to understand a lot more of these messages that we have been getting throughout our lives and not just paying attention to.
I think that's true, and during reading, sometimes they'll ask someone to consider becoming a beacon, and they'll say that's all you have to do is think about it seriously, but then if you're going to commit to being a beacon, just say it out loud and we will do everything else. In other words, feel this person to be a beacon of light. I've had people, and I'm like, I don't even know what this is. There was a series of people at one point, please study deep ecology. Like, okay. I don't know what the heck that, yeah. Or, we'd like to go study shamanism. and my thought is about the paradigm shift is it's just taking time. The old order is hanging on and doesn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And so they're looking for people who are willing to, be that, help shift that energy.
Yeah, it is funny. The paradigm shift that I'm hearing from a number of people, they're saying started back 4 or 5 years ago. I hate to throw this out all the time, but I do. It's 2012-ish and a bit before. But as the shift continues, we have all these little mini shifts in between, like the one coming up, May, June, that kind of different shifts that we all constantly have. But the large shift, I've heard from some very intuitive people that it's going to be negative in large areas and some that it's going to be positive, but it's going to be a cleansing.
Right. And I was reading, where was I reading this? Something about chaos and confusion are necessary for change.
Yeah.
And humans are really good at, so like people, oh my God, we're going to run out of energy. I'm like, no, humans are really good for figuring out how to solve something that appears to be a crisis.
Women do. I just, as a peace officer, I know.
There's some guy out there, I can't remember his name, who is studying dark energy and how we can tap into dark energy. And dark matter.
Yeah.
And we only call it dark, folks, because we can't see it. It's like the Dark Ages weren't terrible and awful and evil. They're called the Dark Ages because in Europe because there wasn't a lot of writing.
Oh, so it was just stuff we can't see. It was just
right. It was
the blinds were pulled in that part.
Right. So the Dark Ages are where we don't have a lot of documentary history for it.
Yeah. Dark Matter is an actual Canadian television series, sci-fi television series.
Well, I'm not surprised because because most of the universe is actually something we can't see. They haven't figured out how to test for it, how to figure out how to describe it, and that's why they call it dark energy and dark matter.
Yeah, and I know there's who was telling me this about dark. Hot dark matter, warm dark matter, cold dark matter. There was all sorts of different types of this dark matter that people were talking about. But it's invisible, so what the heck? It's just something that's out there.
And I have this hope that someday we'll be able to tap into it and we'll be able to rip down all the power lines and even all the solar panels and all that, because somehow you'll have something in your home and it'll just go whoosh and it'll have all the energy that you need. And
that's what I need to power my spaceship. So that's exactly what I need to get out there. Hey, what is your opinion on extraterrestrials, or do you have one?
I apparently, when I asked O'Brien, the channel being, what my first life was, it was as a non-human. It was from somebody from a planet somewhere else who came and stayed and liked it, but it was before the time of the dinosaurs, so my bones have never been found.
Oh, okay. Before the time of the dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs, yeah. Earth before 8. It's like, okay, I guess I've been here before.
and you liked it? There'd be no Wi-Fi. That was weeks before Wi-Fi was invented.
Well, yeah, weeks. And I don't think, I don't believe in extraterrestrials as little green people who run experiments on us. I think they look like us.
Yeah. I'm kind of buying into the fact that some definitely do, but I've also, and this is me learning through interviews, I interviewed somebody who wrote a book on abductions, and they were talking about small gray ones were kind of living off or liked to torment them because that was an energy boost for them, and they were like living off our energy, not living off, but like the rush that somebody's negative or fear energy produced. And then there was the tall blonde Nordic types, and Dave Scott, who hosts the show Monday to Friday here at Spaced Out Radio, he has his own had his own interactions with extraterrestrials, and he has his own opinion on them. And this guy's a professional journalist and broadcaster, and there's another guy you don't want to just come out and say, at a cocktail party, oh, yeah, I've been abducted by aliens. Really? Honey, let's go stand over there. This is like, we don't want to talk to the guy who's been abducted. Let's go stand over there by the guy who speaks to Bigfoot. But it's an awkward conversation. That's why I always ask it. I want to always ask my guests what their opinions are, because, again, this is how I learn about these different things.
And for me, as to what they look like, that's my opinion. I don't have, other than this extremely ancient past life experience. Yeah, I don't have any current experience yet. And my theory is, that people are like, oh, they experimented on me. It was like, well, if they can come across the galaxies in the universe, don't you think they could manage to run a tricorder across us and figure it out without being invasive?
Yeah, the tricorder thing, I'm pretty sure that's make-believe. No, actually it's not. No, I'm kidding. I have no idea. And I'm sure
you would think they would have the technology to do it without, it's like, why do they need to be invasive?
Yeah. Why do they? Oh, that's just planting embryos. I'm pretty sure. This is from Vancouver, where we actually still are filming the X-Files. But again, it's back here. Yes, it started all over again. Did you know? Speaking
of otherworldly beings, did you know I think it's NBC. I watched the first 2 shows. A show called Lucifer. The devil decides he's bored and doesn't want to run hell anymore.
Oh, does he come back and work for CSI Miami?
No. He's a nightclub owner. He's a bar club owner, and he starts investigating crimes. With the police, and he can charm anybody but her, and he can't figure out why, because he can look at people and smile and say, so what is it you really desire? And they start going blah 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 and telling their deepest darkest desires, and she's like, she's not having any of it.
It's good for her.
And then one of the angels come, and the interesting thing is Lucifer is a white guy, and the angel from God asking him to come back and keep the demons in hell in line is a black actor. So the angel of light is a black actor.
And why not?
Why not, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Except when Lucifer says his name, the guy was that character's name, I'm like, what did you say? What, Metabol? What?
Methadone?
No, it was not Metatron. I can't get Metabol or something. I can't quite get it.
Yeah.
I suppose I should look it up on Wikipedia.
Oh yeah, because that's where it's going to be.
Well, Lucifer's full name is Lucifer Morningstar, and Lucifer actually means light.
Light Morningstar.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I
never knew that.
I think Lucifer means light.
Yeah, it sounds like the loose part of it sounds rather
lucent, right?
Lucent, yeah. Well, that's very cool. I may have to poke around and look at that, and then actually phone them up and ask them for money for a plug. So Yes, my friend Kathryn came on and talked about Lucifer. It's interesting. These are the things that are and that is coming out more and more in the public realm is the religion, the spiritualism, the deciding are we alone, are we not alone, and you get on into these huge discussions whether or not we are being tricked by the government, who is a big conspiracy to keep all these alien encounters from us. And I just,
they can't keep drugs out of the country. They can't keep illegal immigrants out of the country. How are they going to
It's not a conspiracy.
How are they going to keep a lid? How are they going to keep a lid on it?
Yeah, it's a policy. It's not a conspiracy. It's like, no, we're not going to tell you because there's still that guy at the end of the street with a tinfoil hat and 7,000 machine guns who are afraid of Serbian refugees showing up in his neighborhood, and now we're going to throw a bunch of aliens on top of that.
But it's like people who said, the Kennedy assassination was a really big conspiracy, and I'm like, don't you think it's been long enough somebody would have dropped a dime on their deathbed by now? It's like the more people involved, the more likely is somebody's going to talk about it.
I've always said that. It's as a policeman we're the Mounties are basically kind of the federal police of Canada. We can't decide. 4 guys can't decide on where we're going to go for coffee, let alone keep secrets that no one will ever know. Like, it just doesn't work that way. Human nature is not that secretive.
Right. So it's like, I'm sorry, if there's all this information, somebody would have by now leaked it to what's his name? WikiLeaks.
WikiLeaks guy, yeah. Yeah, because he would have got it, and he would have. The poor guy's now turned into the WikiLeaks guy, Edward Snowden. He's turned into he said 21st century, or not 21st, 22nd century Abraham Lincoln, Einstein, even Steve Jobs. They get quoted with saying the stupidest things that they've never said. And Edward Snowden is now finding himself in memes where he's saying that the CIA was hiding information about aliens, or they're just putting words into his mouth because he's, his interviews are kind of few and far between. So, and I'm sorry, but I'm one of the people who doesn't feel sorry for Edward Snowden because he didn't have to do what he did, and he did it. And he didn't have to leave the country. So to whine that he's exiled, he exiled himself. Yeah.
Daniel, what was his name with the Pentagon Papers?
I can't remember.
He didn't leave the country. He actually went to trial. He stayed and stood up and said, yes, I did this illegal. He didn't avoid the charges that he did. And, whatever you feel about what Edward Snowden did, it is illegal.
Yep.
And he ran from the country. So I don't feel so, but Ellsberg, Daniel Ellsberg.
Daniel Ellsberg, yeah.
The only reason he got off was because the Nixon administration pulled some shenanigans and the judge dismissed the case. Yeah.
Shenanigans. There's no shenanigans out there in law. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, well, when they did things like go sneak into a psychiatrist's office and look at records. Yeah.
Oh, come on. Okay, that's bad. That's really bad.
That was a tangent there.
Yeah, that was a rule that you're not supposed to break. Is that breaking into places to find evidence usually taints the evidence. In my experience, anyway, that whole fruit of the poison tree thing, and you don't want to do that. That's what I try to teach young guys. No, we can't do that. Yes, we could get the evidence, but we can't use it. Yeah,
and you can't do anything you find out from it.
That's the weirdest conversation I had with young policemen was, if there's some sex offender out there going after children and you arrest him, treat him the nicest you've ever treated anyone in your life. If he wants to call a lawyer, call 6. Do whatever he wants, because you don't want to screw this up on behalf of the general public by yes, he's vile and disgusting, but it's not your job to punish him by punching him out in the back of the police car for what he did, because he's going to use that to try to get off the charge, and it's all going to be your fault.
And you're going to get disciplined and, whatever. He'll get punished in prison. Mm-hmm. Yes, he will.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And on the other side, I hope.
Oh, yes, because they hate pedophiles in prison.
Yes, they do. And on that note, we are going to come back with more.
Cheery note.
Well, on that cheery note, we are going to come back with more from Kathryn right after this.
Want to find out what's coming up on the Spaced Out Radio Network? Go to spacedoutradio.com, where you can find our daily list of shows and guests appearing throughout the week. Want to tell us your story? Be sure to sign up for the Spaced Out Forum for free. Maybe you have a psychic question. Drop in and say hi to Kathryn in Cat's Corner. spacedoutradio.com, your 24-hour source for UFOs, ghosts, conspiracies, and more. Check it out today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
The Phoenix Lights, Roswell, secret military aircraft, flying saucers. Let's check out the sky together. Hi, this is Rich Giordano, host of the AZ UFO Show right here on the Spaced Out Radio Network. Every Sunday night at 7, we hit the airwaves to talk about the phenomenon of unidentified flying objects and more. We want to hear your stories. Maybe you've seen what many others have seen. Only one way to find out, the AZ UFO Show on Sunday nights on the Spaced Out Radio Network on spacedoutradio.com.
Need a break but don't have the time? Tired of life's running around? Hi, this is Jolene from Rivulet Relaxation and Readings. Let me help you in your time of need. From Reiki to realm readings, I can help provide you therapy for your mind, body, and soul. Check out my website at rivuletrr.wix.com/rivuletrr. And if you're a listener of Spaced Out Radio, receive 10% off your first session. Rivulet Relaxation and Readings. And don't forget to give my Facebook page a like. It's time for you to make some important time for you.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio broadcasts 7 days a week? Tune in to me, Dave Scott, Monday through Friday starting at 10 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern, as Spaced Out Radio delves into the most arcane stories, from conspiracy theories to UFOs to weird animals running around our forests. Find us right here at spacedoutradio.com for the stories that will blow your mind. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Weekend host James Tyson can be followed on Twitter at James Tyson SOR, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, and join our free forum at spacedoutradio.com. And now, for the final time tonight, here's James Tyson.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for tuning back into Spaced Out Weekend. I am with Kathryn Samuelson. She is everything there is, because I find her very, very cool, because she was a lawyer or an attorney. What do you call yourselves back then? You don't. We call them lawyers. A hater. Either. Oh, hater. I thought you said.
Either.
Okay.
You're a lawyer, but you're an attorney at law. So my licenses are on retirement status, so technically I'm no longer an attorney at law because I'm not licensed to practice. But I guess I will always be a lawyer because I have the degree.
There you go. You're an attorney, not quite at law.
Yes,
You're an attorney at law.
My degree is a Juris Doctor.
A Juris Doctor. Yes, that's right. Juris Doctors. An attorney at rest. Now, tell me
I'm quite happy to be an attorney at rest.
Yes, I'm about to be a Mountie at rest here in the next few months. I'm going to be happy with that. Now, we touched on a little bit of the channeled angel readings and what you do with your automatic writing. Tell me a bit what you do about life coaching. How do those workshops go? It's usually a one-on-one session, either in person or by phone.
And it's if somebody's sort of floundering, it's helping them figure out goals, steps that they want to get to. It's when they figure out the steps of what they want to get to, it's being a nudge. It's reminding them, but it's also saying, it's okay, you didn't meet your deadline, life happens. It's asking good questions. It's helping them keep track. It's giving homework.
Homework?
Homework. One time, Lord. One time I had a client who, for reasons, had packed up and moved, and boxes had never really been unpacked. So the homework was start going through them box by box. And because she did that in the particular box, it helped her figure out where she wanted to be. She wanted to move back where she used to be, so then said, okay, then our goal is to get you, so the goal is to get you back there. And it's not meant to be, like psychoanalysis. You're in psychoanalysis, with Freudians for like 20 years. It could be 3 months. It could be 2 years. I've had a client where I've recently had a discussion with her, it's time for you, if we're going to continue, that you need to figure out what your goals are for why you're continuing this. You're not a therapist. I had a client who, she realized she'd had therapy but never talked about, with a therapist about the childhood abuse. And I said, I can be here for you. I can support you in this, but I cannot be your therapist. I cannot help you with it. So you need to, you really should find a therapist. So there are some fine lines, and I have to say, I'm not your lawyer. I'm not, it's knowing when to suggest to people that, you might want to go see a doctor about this, or even with the psychic readings, it's like, okay, this is information they're giving me, but I'm not a doctor, so please feel free to go check with your doctor about that.
Well, excellent. And is this a good part of your practice then? You do life coaching more than readings?
Right now it's more readings than life coaching, but I'm working on finding more life coaching clients. So, up and down. What can you say? Have
you ever gone to a place, something like Lilydale down in New York, where...
I've thought about going, but I haven't. I think it would be greatly interesting.
Yeah, I was actually thinking going this year. So, but I'm still... humming and hawing about it, and I will hum and haw about it probably right past the due date. So, but it's speaking of me needing a life coach,
there you go.
Do you find as a life coach, it is almost as fulfilling as it was when you were helping people as an attorney?
Actually, I think it's more fulfilling because in some ways it was more abstract because I was in government. Mm-hmm. And so when I was at the city of Champaign, it was, prosecuting people for loud noise and running dogs and, those lifestyle things and, working on zoning stuff so that, people could have a decent quality of life. But in some ways, this is more satisfying because it's more personal, more one-on-one.
Yeah, you'll be able to look in the eyes of the person you're helping as opposed to it's a blanket assistance for a number of people.
Right.
Well, that's good then. That's what I found. Well, I think these are the types of careers that we're good at. We're, as empath or empathic people, is that we enjoy helping others. And to get that reaction, that immediate reaction when looking in the eye. Yeah,
but even it works as well over the phone, because you do get it's still that one-on-one. People don't understand it's all energy. That's what I say to people. How does this work? It's like it's all quantum energy. And you still get that immediate reaction on a personal level with someone, even over the phone. Barbara Brown Taylor, I keep talking about her. She has a book called Alter in the World. And she has a phrase, which I believe, if I'm quoting it correctly, is she talks about the luminous web that holds everything together. And so I have this picture in my head of this very luminous web and there's we're all the little nodes of the intersections of the threads of the web, so whoosh, it's all twinned electrons and super strings and and all that. It's just like whoosh.
Okay, is her book a pretty heavy quantum physics kind of book, or is it something
not.
I could read?
It's not quantum physics at all. That was just my riff on her phrase. The Altar in the World is about how to have a spiritual practice out in the world.
Oh, all right. That would be interesting. That's for me. Those are the books that help and guide.
Mhm. And it's what resonates with you. And I think it's still in public. I wouldn't think it's still in publication. Yes, it is. It's An Altar in the World: A Geography of Faith.
Oh, good. Yeah, the last book I bought to do with anything metaphysical was was it Sharon Brown or somebody who's passed away now, but her book is still public in regards to
what's her name? Brown, who was the
yeah, she was contacting your guides and having contact with your guides, because at the time that's what I was really focusing on. And then of course I get through that, and now I want to do astral projection. So we're going to give that a shot, and I've got
soul travel.
Soul travel, yes. I've got a event for July 10th, 2016. It is a full moon at the Pyramids of Giza on that date, and I've put it out to anyone who wants to try to learn how to do this before that date. We're all going to go meet there. It's all going to be different times because we're all in different parts of the world. So.
You mean meet there astrally?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So come on down. Come on.
Maybe.
You don't need a passport, I'm pretty sure.
I think you could just slip right through border control.
Yeah. Once this gets a little more traction publicly, I don't know if I'm going to get a call from the Egyptian government or something saying, everybody's going to have to come through us. I'm sorry, that's not going to work. But yeah, so if you're not doing anything July 10th and you've learned how to do an out-of-body experience by then, feel to join us. Just check your time zone. Try to get there. I know some of you are showing up around noon, and I think I'm there for the sunset. No, or maybe I'm there for noon. I can't remember what it was, but we're going to see as many little spirits hanging out at the pyramids. And see what else we can see. I wonder if of
course, our former presidential candidate Ben Carson still believes that the pyramids were grain silos.
Oh, really? So he's never had an opportunity to look inside of one and see how...
Or read more current archaeology.
Yeah, or read. We'll just leave it at that.
I think it's something about the quality of his intellect. And did you know this? I said former kid, because I think he's, gone. Thank God.
Oh, okay, good. We've been up here. Us in Canada watch we've been watching your politics.
Are you going to build a wall to keep all the people out who want to flee to Canada if Trump wins?
No, we're going to let him build the wall. using labor from the other side of the other wall south of you. So it's like, what the? Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, interesting.
To show how just crazy this whole thing is about, the Muslims. It's like, excuse me. So we've had Timothy McVeigh, the guy in the church in South Carolina, the guy in Planned Parenthood in Colorado. Those are acts of terrorism. So why don't we say that we will no longer if you're a white man from another country, you cannot come to America. And oh, by the way, if you're a white man from America and you leave, you can't come back.
Yes, because it's white men. You got to stay away from them, because they're going to blow the crap up. It's it is a little bit bizarre, but again, you're kind of, you have to, when you don't have to. In his case, I think he's dealing to the lowest common denominator, and they're listening.
Well, the National Review, which is an extremely conservative magazine, started by William F. Buckley, who is extremely conservative.
Whose wife is from not too far from where I live right now.
except I think he's no longer with us.
Yeah,
bodily.
His widow.
Anyway, the National Review came out, apparently did an article saying he's really not a conservative. He's lying to you folks.
Yeah, nice try. Well, he did say it was public. He once said if I ever ran for president, I would run as a conservative because you can tell those people anything and they'll buy it.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook.
Ago. Yeah. Oh well.
Another tangent.
Look at us, focused. That's why I like my show. My guests and I can go off and leave all you listeners alone while we go for coffee. And but it is interesting.
And keep your listeners thinking, what the hell?
I walked away, grabbed something to drink. I came back, and now they're talking about William F. Buckley and his wife from outside of Vancouver, Canada. So bizarre. We are having actually a very good conversation. We are touching on, and we've only got maybe 10 minutes left here, a little more in our last quarter, but I did want to get in again a little bit more about your life coaching and how satisfying it is. And I'm glad we covered that, because a lot of people think that when you are doing life coaching, or you're thinking of sharing your energy with somebody else and helping direct them on a path, that must be very, very exhausting. But for somebody like you've kind of over the years learned to keep your energy where it is, as opposed to completely giving it away. Yeah.
And actually, I find doing either readings or life coachings, when, to use the right word, flow is happening, it's actually energizing for me. Good.
Yeah, and I think that's the way it's supposed to be.
And then I have to remember to go, it would be good to ground. It would be to get those energetic roots, flowing into the earth.
Yes. What do you do to ground?
I sit and I have this whole thing about clearing out, and unneeded energies leaving and being filled with love, light, and power, and and then thanking the Mother, Father, creators for filling, having their love, light, and power come into my heart, and see it, and thank them for it flowing down into the earth, growing a magnificent root system, and flowing upwards, and sort of essentially becoming an energetic tree. Okay. And so that I'm rooted. Then I go through this thing about it. So I am rooted, grounded, stable, balanced. Touching my midsection, because you really want to be physically balanced, energetically balanced, and clean, clear, and connected. Chocolate can ground people.
Excellent. That's what I want to hear.
There are readers who have chocolate on their table for their clients so they can help ground them. My problem is I'd sit there and eat it all. So I go around and graze other people's chocolate.
Oh, you have chocolate? Oh, look. I didn't know you had
look at this. Oh, great. Can I have a couple Hershey Kisses?
Can you tell me what an open heart meditation is? Or meditations on how to be? This, you have a workshop in regards to open heart. Opening the heart. Right.
Although I haven't been doing any for a while because Linda's been helping me restructure them. Okay. So, it's just taking my time. But opening your heart is about meditating and using the images and or the text in part 2 to really go into your heart and connect with your heart. Because you have an energetic heart as well as a physical heart. And we can close ourselves down energetically, close down that heart center, and this is about opening it up and connecting to compassion, connecting to how we really want, the person we really want to be, connecting to our family and friends. I know it sounds kind of amorphous, but it's about going in really deep and hearing what your heart has to tell you. Because, think about it. We have things that we say about knowing in our gut, knowing in our heart, right?
Yeah.
And I believe it was the Egyptians who thought the seat of wisdom was the heart, not the brain, the heart.
Oh, those guys.
Those Egyptians. And so, for example, one of the exercises in the back of the book that you can do is choose an image, meditate with it, use it to go into your heart, and listen to what your heart's story is. What does it want to tell you? One of the exercises is about what lives in your heart. And that came out of a meditation I had where I literally saw this heart, the heart shape that we draw, not the physical heart, but the heart shape that we draw. And it had an open door in it, and there, seeing through that open door, there was a field of wildflowers.
Okay.
And so that's where, so these exercises have come through things that I've done or worked with clients. There's an exercise on clearing out old energy blocks. And the meditations are images and texture to help you calm and center yourself so you can go into that still point that lives in the very center of you.
Yeah, I'm finding with my own meditations and groundings, it's focused on, I'm still focusing on breath. And one of the things that I have a hard time doing is I'm focusing on my breath, I'm doing my breathing, and then it's not being distracted by something outside, whether it's a noise or
the monkey mind.
Oh my Lord! Santa Claus got me a thing for Christmas. It's called a Muse. Have you heard of this?
No.
It is a headband that was developed by some scientists at a university in Canada, and it's a little headband that goes on and detects your brain waves. You put it on over the back of your ears like glasses, but the front of it runs across your forehead, and then it hooks up, eventually detects your brain waves, and you see hooks up to your iPad or whatever, your iDevice, and it shows you a picture, and you hear, let's say, the waves breaking. And you breathe. And if you're breathing properly, if you're hitting that good zone of not thinking, like complete, like I want to call it dead mind, like turning all the outside information off, you'll hear birds singing. The waves are very calm. If you are thinking about a lot of things or being distracted, the waves, and you hear a storm. and what you do is you have to keep focusing on your breathing to make sure the waves all calm down again. And I find it's really helping me focus, but that's the hard part. Like if I was to go to do one of your things, I think that's where I would need in a workshop is basically to or anything to do with you. That my first question would be, could you please, Kathryn, help me just focus on something other than my bills, how much gas is in the car, what do we do, what time I pick my kids up, that kind of thing. And
as I say, most of us are not the Dalai Lama. And so even though I've been meditating for years, I have some where it's just pure bliss and some where I'm like, hey, what am I doing here? And that's why sometimes mantras are useful because, and just being calm about, oh, my mind's wandering, and for a long time my mantra's just been thank you.
Just thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And sometimes that can put you into a state of just immense gratitude. And sometimes I'm like, okay, my time is up. Okay, shut up. That's the point.
Well, the one that the Mounties taught us to calm down and relax was if you're under a lot of stress, you'd imagine a blue light around you, and every time you inhaled, the light would come in the bottom of your feet, go all the way through you, and push out all the other stuff. And as you imagine that in your head, and then you'd exhale and you'd say a one-syllable word in your head as you exhaled. So mine was very clever. I used the word one. And that was one. So what it did is that the first part of it, the breathing in, your brain saw, like it created a picture. of what was happening. And then on the exhale, there was no picture because your brain was concentrating on the word one as it went out. And
but
it very quickly slowed you down.
It's very interesting that you chose that because on some level, the quantum level, we are all one.
Oh, very cool. Never thought of that.
And, we're all related because, it's like, there's a book called The Seven Daughters of Eve about doing the DNA and coming back down to 7 mitochondrial mothers out of Africa. It's like, at some point you go down to, and it's like, well, we're all related. We're all one.
One. We have been talking to Kathryn Samuelson. Go to her website, KathrynSamuelson.com, and we're up against the clock, young lady, and it's time for me to let you go. We're going to open the doors to this creepy little log cabin and let you get back to life and everything you are doing. And I really appreciate you coming on, Kathryn. Thank you very much.
Well, I've had a great time, and it wasn't creepy.
Oh, good. Good. It's we try to hide the spiders when the best we can when people are coming on. But again, thank you, and again, please go to Kathryn's website, KathrynSamuelson.com. Look at what she does. Look at the services, and if you're in the Vermont, New Hampshire area in the next few months, look at her little schedule and events and see if you can bump into her. Again, thank you very much, and we're going to come on tomorrow with more.
Thank you for listening to tonight's edition of Spaced Out Weekend. To reach Jim on Facebook, you can give our Spaced Out Radio show a like. You can follow Jim on Twitter at James Tyson SOR and follow Spaced Out Weekend on our website, spacedoutradio.com. Now, for the final time tonight, here's James Tyson.
Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in to Spaced Out Weekend on this Sunday evening. A big shout out to our friends on Facebook at Paranormal Into the Night and the Paranormal Forum and the combined forces of the French Legume. We'll be back next Sunday with 2 mediums and a large. Talk to you soon.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. And hey! Let's be careful out there. Over hail like a batch of angry wolves on the